You know, I know a lot of people who are very, very successful, but they're very unhappy people because they haven't done anything meaningful. And I think we're all very lucky here. We're doing something that's meaningful.
Welcome back to Artfully Crafted. My name is Alienor, and each week I travel to a craftsperson's studio, interview them and show you their work. This week we're headed to Wrexham to meet the team at Silverlining. I'm really excited about this. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time, to scale up from showing you people working on their own to showing you how it can be when it's scaled up to a full business. Silverlining actually has, I think, nearly 70 employees, and today we get to speak with the founder, Mark, as well as the head of research and development, Dan. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and let's get into it. Hi Mark, thank you so much for having me. We are just on the outskirts of Wrexham.
Correct.
At Silverlining, which it's quite exciting. It's like multiple workshops across and every workshop has its own kind of like, you know, you've got the leather and the laser marquetry and the cabinet making. Like for someone like me who loves crafts and decorative arts, I feel like I'm like in Disneyland.
Oh, good.
So could you introduce Silverlining?
So Silverlining, we design and make furniture for super yachts, houses, even planes now. We've worked in 28 different countries all over the world. Our work can range from one piece of furniture as a commission for a private client right through to 30, 40 pieces of furniture for a larger project. I never envisaged Silverlining to end up like this. I started on my own in 1985 and we celebrate our 40th anniversary this year. And now we've grown into 67 people. And I sort of almost feel like, I think you touched on it earlier, there's lots of different businesses here. I feel like I'm an umbrella to keep the rain and the sun off people who don't have the confidence to be self-employed, but can almost run their own business. And I think from a creative point of view, that's really important because you've got to give people the freedom to fail, make mistakes, and that's when you produce things that are actually extraordinary or create new things.
Yeah, because so it started out as cabinet making, but really now it's like the finishes, and you know, we've got samples behind us that really show like a breadth of materials. How did that shift sort of start happening?
I think, when I first started, we were often making to other people's designs, and what we found is that a lot of architects and designers, they could go to many furniture makers and get a price, and they might say, well, Mark, I know yours is phenomenal quality, but the most expensive. So we were looking for a differential, and we realised that through creativity and R&D and innovative craft, we could push boundaries and do things that are not only difficult for us, but the market, we became the leader rather than the follower.
Hi Dan.
Hello.
Thank you so much for speaking with me today. So you're head of R&D here at Silverlining.
I am indeed.
And so your role is to develop the sort of latest finishes, right?
Correct, yeah.
We've got quite a few samples on the table in front of us, and it's such a broad range. And I think the whole company really is quite forward thinking and quite innovative, and that's embedded in the company with the innovation days, right?
Yeah, one Friday a month, depending on workload. Obviously, if we're snowed under, we don't get a chance to do much sort of free play, basically. But everyone gets the chance to do whatever they want, really. Move to departments, try other things, whether they've seen a process that they like on the internet, YouTube, or something that they want to try, or or sometimes there's a specific small brief that's sort of set internally, whether we've got an R&D problem that we're trying to resolve, or perhaps there's a gift for a client that we're trying to develop that we need some ideas for, or whether it's a new material getting in. That's what we do a lot. So we get a material in, we go to a lot of design shows, sustainable shows, get new materials in, and then just hand them out to people. What can you do with it? Test it to destruction. Can you cut it? Can you slice it? Can you colour it? Can you bleach it? What can you stick it down with? Does it yellow in the sunlight? Can you combine it with other materials? And just really free, no limitations, just go for it.
Yeah, so it's using heritage crafts, but sort of elevating, pushing through innovation and harnessing technology, right?
Correct, yeah. So taking the very ancient skills. I mean, for example, recently we've just done a desk for our new editions collection, and we're actually using a technique of staining it, which is medieval, and yet the desk has been made using robotic technology. So we love mixing the old and the new.
So what's the sort of like mix of clients that you have? You mentioned the yachting industry. Is that quite a big part of?
Yeah, I mean, we originally were only working on land-based projects, houses, and then fortunately I got our first commission to work on a boat because we worked on a previous project for the client's house, and that's how it all started. But projects on yachts are really exciting. It's almost like Formula One, but on water.
Yeah.
And actually the clients are pioneers themselves. They want to push boundaries, so they're very open to having new things and doing extraordinary projects. And I think one of the benefits is commerce benefits this, just like Formula One, the technology, the learnings, the creation goes into mainstream industry. So I think we're very lucky to have this world of super yachts.
So sort of you innovate at that level and then it trickles down into everything else. That's really cool. And I guess also there's that aspect of you're innovating on an aesthetic point of view, but also you have to take into account so many sort of like engineering, health and safety, fire regulations. Like it's kind of like a mental puzzle if so many things have to fit together, right?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we're not just creators of furniture, we're engineers, we're almost scientists really. And we've actually got quite a lot of equipment here can actually predict how colours change over time. So we've got this weathering chamber, we've got 3D printers that we can test shapes and structures. We've also got another piece of equipment that can see materials under different wavelengths of light. So we can show a client how it'll actually look in the lighting on their boat or their house or their plane.
Oh wow, that's really cool. So you can simulate that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and particularly colours, because we've developed through dyeing of timber, it could look bright orange in this light, and yet in your office in London it could look almost an Hermes orange with a hint of brown in it. It all depends on the wavelength of light you're looking at.
Yeah, and it's really tricky as well because when you're looking at a sample, out of its context, it's like, okay, well, are you holding it at the angle at which it's going to be seen? If it's a table, don't hold the sample there, hold it flat. Vice versa, if it's, wall and you're looking at it like this, but then as you say, like everything will reflect from it. And so if you're in a white room, but your finished room isn't going to be white, then you're looking at it in the wrong context. And it's like all of these things that can sort of be missed by someone who, isn't sort of.
Yeah, I think at the level we're working at, clients expect that. They expect you to do all your due diligence, even longevity of furniture. I mean, obviously, if you go on a low-cost airline and you go first class, you expect a different level of service, and it's reflecting. We're at the premium end, so it's not just the product, the whole experience, even the storytelling. Clients love coming here, coming to the workshop. We've got some clients coming next week, and they often say they're going to stay a couple of hours or half an hour and end up staying all day because they actually love it. It's like being in a sweetie shop, and I think people like creating, even particularly since COVID. They had a lot of time on their hands, and everyone really evaluated what was important in life.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's the desire for storytelling that your clients have? Is that a fairly new thing, or do you feel like that's always been there?
In the luxury sector, everyone realised it was actually the experience. It was not just buying the object, it's how is it created, where did the material come from, what's the history of the wood, you know, how many hours went into it, meeting the people that actually created it. You know, and actually, you know, even wealthy people want to be part of something special. You know, they're very privileged, they can probably have most things that they desire, but actually do something meaningful that's tangible that they can share with their friends and family is really important.
So it's getting that emotional buy-in, I guess.
Yeah, getting under the skin of the client, you know, what makes them tick. Yeah, maybe the way a cabinet door closes.
Yeah, it could be the sound,
yeah, it
the
could
push.
I remember the first piece of furniture we did for a yacht, the client, and we designed about 11 pieces, and he said, well, I don't really know you, Mark, so I'll tell you what, I'll pay you to make one piece. I'll inspect it, and if I like it, I'll give you the rest of the order. So anyway, we turned up at the shipyard, and he said, this was the cabinet, he said, will you open the doors on the cabinet? Open the doors on the cabinet, he said, take the shelves out. And then he asked for his assistant for a torch, and he got down on his hands and knees and looked on the inside of the cabinet with his torch. He said, the quality is as good on the inside as the outside, you've got the rest of the order.
I feel like that is very much something within the yachting industry where it's like that attention to detail. It's like and I think actually, as Dan was showing me around earlier, like he did say this when we got to the finishing workshop. He was like, you've got to be on another level to work at the finishing. Like it's just got to be such precision. And I think you can work on all the high-end projects you want at residential, you know, restaurants, commercial, all of that. But yacht is another level. Like it's.
Well, we have an expression. You know, people ask, "What do we do?" We really say it's PhD cabinet making because that's the level. I think, you know, particularly finishing. A lot of people think like it's like a car body shop, but it's actually working at museum level. And you've probably witnessed that today.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we've just talked about the storytelling and the emotional buy-in of your clients. But I think something that made me want to film here and that has sort of been confirmed as I've been walking around is I feel like you've got the emotional buy-in of your employees. I feel like they're really invested in the company. But I think that has only happened because you're investing into them. And I'd love to talk about that aspect of things as well, is how you...
I think I learned really early on, you know, if you beat someone with a stick, they'll just wait long enough and hit you with a bigger stick at some time down. So the thing is to give them that environment that they can really be free. I mean, of course, there has to be an element of discipline, but I think in a way, the more freedom you give an individual, the more they'll give you back. And and in managing people, there's the formal and the informal, and it's really important to get the balance right. You know, if someone's worked hard till 10 o'clock at night, why would you complain if they were late the next day? And it's giving people that break, but in terms of creativity. So, you know about our Innovation Friday, those are really important because it made people realise they could just have a go or do nothing and they wouldn't get criticised or they didn't have to fill in a timesheet in. So I think it's really important giving people that freedom of thought.
What's standing out to me is I don't feel like any of you are being pigeonholed, right? It's very sort of like open.
Not. Yeah, in those early stages, it's very, very free and open to sort of...
Yeah, but it's great because you could be someone who's highly specialised and who is working, say, in the leather workshop, but you will get an opportunity to kind of play around and in a way that will like feed into your practice and into your ideas and, you know, sort of keep your ideas and the flow of ideas moving, which is great and keeps you more engaged with the whole company, right? Because I think when you get to that stage of, you know, you've got multiple different, you know, you are all in one location overall, but the workshops are all quite separate. So I think it would be easy when you get to this scale of company to, you know, for someone who's working in the leather to be very...
Just to stay leather all the time.
Yeah, to feel very dissociated from the finishing and to like not see the bigger picture anymore.
Yeah, definitely.
So I feel like the innovation days maybe are like a way that you guys like combat that in a way and keep ideas coming in from all corners of the workshop.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, just because somebody works in leather doesn't mean they don't have, you know, a good idea with woodworking or a finish, or a lot of people are sort of multi-skilled, so it's quite easy to sort of people to move around. And yeah, like you say, I think it helps with that sort of appreciation of the other department. So it's not just you doing your bit and then you pass it on and you forget about it. You've got an appreciation of what's come before you, and the work involved, and what's coming after you, and the work involved with that, and how your little bit impacts all these other departments.
And it would have been easy equally for when you turned up for Mark to stick you in like laser marquetry, and then never allow you to sort of like branch out and try other things. But it seems that there's a sort of company culture of wanting to invest in people. At one point we were talking, so just before we started the interview, we got shown around the workshop, and we got to meet Maisie and Leather workshop, and she was talking about how everyone can sort of put forward ideas for courses and things that would help them like develop, and it can be, it has to be relevant, but it can be beyond their existing sort of skill base.
So like the basket weaving thing. I think the leather shop were just interested in that as a technique. I don't know where it came from, whether one of them had seen it or done a little bit of it, or maybe even started doing weaving with leather. And it was deemed, interesting. And they found a basket weaving course at the weekend. And we saw that there was potential in this leather work. So send them on the weekend course, and just see what we can get back from it. Because we've started doing, linked to the innovation days, we do inspiration lunches as well. So we go to these design shows, whether it's design or R&D. And when we get back, we do a little presentation for the team, the rest of the people, to say, where we've been, and this is what we've seen, this is what's interesting. And part of that's led on into, we've invited some makers, like jewellers, ceramicists, to come in and do some short sort of presentations with their work, just to engage the people here, where I said are interested,
and think beyond the boundaries of what they're doing.
Yeah, and then also, there's always things in these other industries that you can bring into furniture.
And I love that that's really like encouraged and nurtured.
Yeah, really encouraged. I mean, that's one of the things that coming here in the morning, like, smiling, is the sort of, Mark's passion sort of for the company is very sort of, it's very infectious. And there's definitely the drive with everyone here to sort of, improve.
Do your best.
Get better, look for new things, try new things.
You're wanting to grow the R&D department, right?
Yeah, so there's big plans. It was always said that we want to grow it from when we started the department a few years ago. But with it being more tied in closely to the Monaco yacht show that we do every year, and the sort of internal projects that we run, it's starting to get to the point where, we need to start growing it. Getting some more heads in the department. It's just me at the moment. But everybody here does it. It's just having more dedicated people that are solely
because
doing
you're the only person whose sole focus it is, right? I mean, so there's the innovation days, but also you just mentioned the PhD in cabinet making. I mean, your approach to training people as well really demonstrates that. I think you've got people who've been with you for years who maybe weren't already in crafts, or maybe didn't have much experience when they joined. What's your attitude to that?
I think it's really important. I mean, when I trained with John Makepeace, there were actually 8 colleges, and I applied to, including John's, and I got a place at all of them. There's only one left. Parnham's closed. The only college that's still around is Rycottwood. And I think we, rightly or wrongly, central government gave up on vocational training. Polytechnics disappeared. They turned every university, everyone had to become a university to get a degree, even though everyone knows that, say a degree from X university isn't good as Harvard or Oxford and Cambridge. But I think it's really important that industry invests in people, and also particularly post-Brexit. We used to have 12 European craftspeople. And we've only got one now, Yannick. And actually, what it forced all of our companies to do is actually invest in local people. and actually been very successful because you invest in local people, they tend to stay.
Yeah.
Whereas if you invest in someone from the continent,
Yeah.
more than likely they'll want to go back home at some stage. So for longevity, it's best to train local people. And I remember talking to Bentley, the lady who was head of the apprenticeship at Bentley, and she was saying when they used to have apprentices from all over the UK, they finished the apprenticeship and 87% of people would move. So they actually decided to change their tact and go into the schools, literally from like 6, 8-year-olds, get people to come into Bentley and get Bentley under their skin. So by the time they applied for their apprenticeship, they were Bentley addicts.
Yeah.
And they actually reversed. They then found that 87% of people stayed because they'd invested in the local community.
You also have a sort of vision for the future, right? I mean, you're wanting to sort of develop training opportunities, aren't you?
There's got to be a second generation for Silverlining. All the knowledge, all the skill we built up needs to transfer to that next generation. That's why the management of the company is the next generation down. We're investing in young people. In fact, the average age in the workshop is 29.
Really?
So a very young company. I'm the old grandfather. But it's really, really important because it's not happening through central government. So industry needs to, quite rightly, commit to training the next generation. But also it's the future for the business.
Yeah.
The business used to be 10 people, now we're 67. It's really important we're bringing through the next rising stars within Silverlining. And also, take creativity. It's really important that you have a sort of throughput of people. I mean, naturally you get some natural wastage of people leaving or getting married to move or whatever, but longevity at Silverlining is you can have a job for life if you want.
Yeah. But I still think it's quite brave because, a lot of people would start a company and see it as just like, if the government isn't supporting them to, scale up and train, they might say, well, why should it be at my personal cost to do that? And why should I be the one who is stressed and, worried about the future of crafts when no one outside of, no one externally is supporting that? So the fact that you've made the decision to, basically make that your personal mission, I think is, not a lot of people are doing that.
I've always taken real pleasure in finding people that better anything I did. And, when I started, I'd do the design, I'd do the selling, I'd do the making. And then when you find people who are experts at a higher and higher level, it's really, really rewarding.
To allow them to thrive. Yeah,
and also for me, to have niche manufacturing in the UK, I think is extraordinary when a lot of manufacturing's shrinking. But it's only through pushing boundaries that we've got a market, because we're setting the pace. People are following us. It's really important. And
I guess also there's that level of you really almost have to be working for the very sort of high-end sector, because obviously, minimum wage, etc., is set in such a way, and versus competition from abroad, you couldn't be making sort of everyday objects for, that were at a very low price point, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to pay your team in the same way, right? So it would be less creativity and more churning, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like every piece of sculpture we're doing, but it's fine. That's why you've got to have the connection with the client who's got an interest in that, because if there isn't that connection, it's just about paying a price and not the right client.
Yeah.
Because it is about that process of taking them on that journey, and allowing them to create something meaningful that they can treasure. I mean, that's one of the reasons we do these documentary storybooks, which we give the client. So it keeps the memory of commissioning that piece of furniture. I mean, let's not be cynical about it, but it's also our clients are our best advocates. So they've got a beautiful book or 5 copies, and someone sees, well, I love that. Who's that? Oh, you should go and see these people, these mad people in Wales, in Wrexham. We've had clients come here, it's like, why am I coming to Wrexham? And they come through that door and see the Aladdin's cave. Yeah. But they actually like it, that it's toned down on the outside. I've had clients saying, I can see where the money gets reinvested back into the company.
lot of them work through the sort of design companies that we work through, the Winch and people like that.
Yeah.
But some of them are direct with us, and they will come here, and quite a lot of them are really excited to be involved in the sort of process when they see what we do and what we can do and what's available to you from the bespoke side of things, that you can have whatever you want and you can have whatever colour you want, and they can get really sort of excited and involved in the process, which is great.
And make the piece just a lot more personal.
Yeah. And then when they receive it, they can be quite interested in, oh, well, who's made it? And, oh, I met them when I came to the workshop. And some of them even request, we do a little book sometimes along with a project, where the client will get a little bespoke book that we've made about the piece and showing this is who's worked on it, and pictures and write-ups about the whole process.
And that's really lovely.
And, they really like that, and some of them have pictures, and the salesman will tell you he goes back to people's houses and yachts and sees the piece that we made maybe 10 years ago with a picture of the maker making it on there.
I love
and
that.
The clients love that. It's like, and their friends come around, oh, this is the person that made it, and they love that whole sort of narrative.
That makes it so much more special.
It's the narrative behind it. They love that sort of.
And I think actually what's really nice is because obviously on the pricing of things has to reflect the amount of work that goes into it. And so obviously, that can seem like a huge amount of money, and it is, but actually when you then see like, okay, this is who made it, etc., I think people are more willing, if they're able, to spend more on a piece, because they're like, they know exactly who that money has gone to in a way.
They can see the individual that made it, and it wasn't just rolling off a factory floor.
Can you tell me maybe, I think there's like one project that you said we could talk about that was sort of like your first kind of project as head of R&D.
I know we can talk about this because we won an award for this. The company won an award. It was a collaboration award with another design company. So it was the first big R&D project that landed on my desk once the department started, which made me sit up. Like, cool, this is quite big. We'd never done
really
it before.
Piqued your interest,
Yeah, so the client wanted a chinoiserie style finish to some panels that were going in a bathroom. Yeah.
So straight away, my designer brain, I'm like, okay, like a lot of chinoiserie style panel is like gesso, crackled, lacquer on top, the gilding. It's like none of these things can be in a moist environment.
They'd be good for maybe a week.
Yeah.
And they'd fall off.
Yeah.
So we had to sort of obviously modernise the technique. So to stand back, it looks traditional, but up close and with water getting sprayed on it, and I don't know, we test stuff so well, fire rated and stuff. You could probably set it on fire, it'd be all right. But
we don't encourage anyone to actually test that theory.
Don't encourage that, please. Let's scrub that. The way we did it was encapsulate lots of different materials and techniques in different layers of resin. So over like 3 or 4 mil of resin build, there's something like 8 or 9 different layers, and each layer encapsulates whether it's metallized etching or mother of pearl or marquetry with gilding, electroformed metal. There was just a vast amount of processes that had to happen, one after the other, sort of seamlessly, for these things to come together. And I think we worked on them for about 18 months. There was 40 panels, and one of them went wrong. 1 out of 40.
That's really not bad at all. And also because, as you say, you're doing like fire testing, but also in a bathroom there's going to be like steam. So it's like, with the resin, it's the heat, the humidity, like how will that affect the colouring of the resin over time? And then the different materials that you're encasing in the resin, how are they going to react to being seen through the resin? Like and then at any point in time, like the resin manufacturer could decide to just, we'll just change the formula, and then all the testing that you've done could just go straight to the bin.
Luckily, that didn't happen. There's some perfect examples of things that are out of our control that can go wrong. And even things that are in our control that can go wrong and do go wrong and did go wrong.
Human error as well, right? Like
Yeah, so the whole thing was, look, like anything we do here, it's a team effort. I mean, there were so many people who worked on that. It was a big sort of collaborative, how do we do this? And because initially it was going down, obviously you start, how do we do it? There's a lot of different options and avenues early on when we started going down a road that we thought was the right road, and it turned out it wasn't. And we had to come right back to the beginning and try something else. So there's a lot of trial and error.
what lead time did you have for this project? 'Cause that's the other thing, right?
Never
We haven't
enough.
really, yeah.
It's
I mean,
never enough.
obviously, it's never enough. Yeah.
Not a lot. I think it was a 2-year project. I think we spent 18 months, so we did it.
Yeah, which seems like a lot, but actually just the production, once you've done all the testing,
yeah.
etc., like that in itself,
Yeah.
you need a good chunk of time. Like you probably need like 3 or 4 months just for the different processes,
Absolutely.
etc., and refining it, and as you say, like the finishing at the end.
I mean, the finishing at the end can take 3 or 4 months.
Yeah,
It's all stuff like that, you know, the scheduling of something sounds like, okay. But that's all so important to line things up so it runs smoothly.
and I think that's something that people miss out on a lot, is they don't realise, okay, like you can have the most exciting, the most innovative, the latest, but you've got to build in that innovation time.
Yep.
Otherwise, if you want something on a short time frame, you really do have to pick something that's already here,
It's already been-
that's
yeah,
already been
definitely, yeah,
tested,
yeah.
that's already been scaled up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you've got to really allow that
Yeah,
buffer.
yeah. With anything bespoke, even though we do, you know, obviously some of the stuff we do, there's similarities across all projects, how we make stuff and how we put it together, but it is all bespoke, so you're always going to have bespoke problems.
Yeah.
Well, as much as you try and preempt those, and we've got pretty good at preempting those and
Yeah.
predicting what the problems could be, or we've got pretty good at that. There's always something that comes in from the side that you just didn't think about, that might be just completely minor, and you would think that you don't even need to worry about that.
Yeah.
But it can just come in towards the end and just, oh no.
Well, especially because, as you say, it's when you scale things up, sometimes you might
Yeah,
have
simple as
something
that,
and
yeah.
you're doing the sample
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, that's fine, like that's a minor thing. And then you scale it up and you're like, oh no, actually,
Yeah, yeah.
it goes proportional.
That's one
to
of the
the
biggest
size.
things, actually. Yeah, it's interesting you raise that. That's one of the biggest things, is where a lot of the problems come from, is scaling up. Yeah, so you do little 100 mils, little A5s, little even things like this sort of size. But when you take it to a 8-metre dining table, sometimes you have to look at the process again. And
So you're sort of like taking a step forward to then take a step
Yeah.
back and then
Yeah.
move forward again.
yeah,
And then obviously all of these things, because you're innovating, then that's going to feed into the estimation process,
Yeah.
right? Because it's like, how do you estimate the cost of something when you're literally just playing with the material at the early stage? Like, you've got to go through that whole testing and scaling up phase for you to be able to accurately tell the sales team, like, this is how to actually, because you've got to pay people at the end of the day, right?
yeah.
And I think it's a lot of responsibility when you get to that stage of, a lot of people I've interviewed so far, it's just them. And so if they mess up, it's tricky for them, but it impacts just them.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas I think at this scale of company, it's like, it impacts everybody. And you've got a responsibility of keeping people's jobs secure and
Absolutely,
stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
So it's a whole different aspect of things.
I mean, thankfully, it's obviously on Mark's shoulders more than mine, and he obviously does a very good job at dealing with that. But that's a definite thing you have to consider. Yeah, it must be.
It has to be
quite
right.
scary from his perspective.
Sorry, I've just added pressure, haven't I?
It's just quite scary, isn't it, to think about that? But yeah, this place has been going for 40 years, so we're doing something right.
We actually haven't really talked about, we talked about you going to college and applying to John Makepeace, But what led you to down that path?
I think it was two things: sort of nurture nature. In my forebears were into collecting things, furniture, glass, artworks, pictures, because they were quite successful in the businesses they ran, and then. Really nurture. My mother from a young age, we used to go to Chatsworth House, we'd go to Nostell Priory, the Wallace collection, see the best of the past. She used to restore her own furniture. She was an incredible cook, seamstress, everything she made or created. And I think I got that you know, from her.
So you have the entrepreneurial and the creative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd always, you know, it's sort of joke, people ask me how I got into it. I had always excelled at both my schools and won the woodworking prizes. They'd have all the Greek, Latin, and then I would turn up. My parents would hide. But it was a natural, and I put hours and hours into it.
Yeah.
And I've got lots of things that I made over the years. And then when I didn't get good enough grades to go and do land agency, be a land agent or study land agency at Reading, my sister said, well, why don't you do what you love? And if there's one piece of advice, you know, I would give someone is, if you're going to spend a third of your life, or in my case, half of your life doing something, do something you enjoy.
Yeah.
Because A, you'll have a better journey, but you're more likely to be successful at it.
Yeah, I think to be able to like sustain the motivation, to have the grit and the staying power, it needs to be fueled by passion. Otherwise, it's just not.
Yeah, and the ups and downs of running a business, you at times you've got to have that true grit. But I think if you work hard, you create your own luck.
You did say this to me when we were prepping the interview. You said, oh yeah, clients will sort of tour the workshops, etc., and then they'll say, oh, it's like you're running a charity.
Yeah, I've probably had 3 clients say, well, what are you doing here, Mark? You're really running a charity, aren't you? And I think that's just a reflection of what you picked up. It's the passion of people. You know, people here, we try to remunerate people and keep the best of people here, but mainly people here of what we do and what they want to achieve collectively as a company.
Another thing you mentioned to me that I thought would be quite fun, although you might not find it fun, the 3 lemons.
Yeah, my uncle, who was a really top tax consultant, he said, well, if you run a business long enough, the 3 lemons will come up on the fruit machine. And for us, that we had a fire in 2013, which we survived and was fine.
Yeah.
We had a court case over whether VAT should be charged on a yacht with the German tax authorities that went on for 4 years.
So it's not even like UK tax authority, it's like foreign
and
tax
I
authority.
you know, when I started being a furniture maker, I didn't realise you've got to be a tax consultant, a barrister, a diplomat, a psychologist, you know, all these skills you need to run a business.
What's the 3rd lemon? Maybe best forgotten.
Probably an order suddenly cancelled. I mean, during COVID, we had quite a number of projects in China, and they just came to a stop because the whole Chinese economy stopped. So you've got to be resilient. I mean, at any one time, we've got between 20 and 30 projects. That's the other. As you grow a business, it's easy to get a large order for one customer, and that can be very dangerous. So, you know,
it's like all your eggs are in one basket, and if it turns out that the client's a bit volatile or whatever, that puts you sort of on their roller coaster. And, you know, people get
divorced, they have money issues, they have delays, the house gets late. So I think my biggest role now is risk management. That's what I do day in, day out.
Who would have thought, huh? Did you think that when you were applying to John Makepeace? Not really, right?
No, but the aim here is we're going to get someone to run the business for me so I can go back to how I started, basically doing R&D. So innovation and craftsmanship is that's the thing I love.
Can you talk me through the process? So starting, you've done your innovation days, you've maybe like come back with new exciting materials from different shows. You showed them to the team. They've sort of iterated, tried lots of different things. Like, what is the process from there to actually presenting a finished sample at Monaco Boat Show?
So it's quite a long process, but we don't have much time to do that long process because it's obviously every year. We're designing every year, so to get from design to manufacture, it's about 9-10 months max. So it's not a lot of time.
No.
But it starts with innovation days. Somebody may have created a little bit of something, or we've seen a material at a show. It will then start to form a brief from Mark and sales, marketing, based on last year's show, what's been received well, what's getting most hits on Instagram. So that will form the brief, the sort of loose brief, and then design will go away with myself for a few days. We sort of squirrel ourselves away in a little private room. We might hire somewhere locally to sort of get away, and we lay everything out on the table, and there's the brief, and we have just a huge brainstorm session.
And so that's with you and with...
And design.
Okay.
I'm there for a more sort of, these are the materials we found.
And you can sort of answer their questions on feasibility.
A really early sort of technical input for them. But at the end of that, we may end up with 20, 30 concepts.
That's quite a lot.
That's a lot, yeah. That will get a little sort of visual done, and then there'll be a stage of reviewing those with Mark and the SMT, the senior management. And through a process, we'll get that down to about 6 or 8, which will be supported with little bits we've done already, little tests to sort of prove the concept. And then they'll just go then into production. The first part of that production will be still R&D based, really sort of resolving any issues, really refining the technique, any finishes or any sort of little complex making detail. And then once that's done, it kind of follows the same sort of process as paid with, really. It gets drafted, and then it's off into production.
I think when people see all of the exciting finishes that you guys offer, it might be tempting to think, oh, this is just like aesthetic led. But really, because about half of your projects are for yachts, there's all of like the fire and health and safety regulations, weight like considerations. So there's a lot of like the technical and engineering side to also address, and you don't want to be presenting a sample that hasn't, where you haven't already thought all of these problems through. There's also the like sort of financial side as well, right?
Like you say, we could be designing something that, as a concept, takes X amount of hours and costs X amount, and if you scale that up to a desk, it could cost £5 million. But there's always that, if a client sees that sample and likes it, and I want something in that, there's always that.
You could simplify.
We can redesign it, we can tweak stuff, we can change it to a budget, really.
In a way, like the samples you present, that's you pushing the envelope as much as possible and showing like this is the best of the business,
no boundaries,
right?
This is what's possible.
Yeah.
But there's still, obviously, we've got to have some of those samples in there that are still practical from the offset.
But you're actually starting to think about limited edition furniture as well, right? And sort of putting out your own sort of like, this is what we've designed and you
so
can
we're
buy
working
it.
on some art furniture, really. Takes us away from what we sort of traditionally do in terms of residential and yachts, which again is our own internal visions and designs and techniques and things that we want to do.
And sustainability and sourcing, like these are also things that you're sort of quite passionate about, right?
It's a bit like drink driving. Anybody at this age, drink driving is a no-no, and yet when I learned to drive, it was perceived to be okay.
Right.
But for the under 30s, the world of sustainability is a given. And actually, if you want to have the people of the future, you need to go with what their feelings and beliefs are.
And so naturally, if you've got an average age in the workshop that's 29, in order to get their emotional buy-in as employees, sustainability needs to be at the core, right? Yeah,
so I mean, for example, we used to have like a lot of companies paper cups, then we gave everyone their own water flask. It's simple things like that. And also for clients, it's become more important, particularly clients who are public facing. Yeah, I mean, we've been we're sitting on some cork stools now. Cork is an amazing material. It doesn't grow in the UK yet, even though with global warming it probably would. But that's an unbelievable material, and a lot of our solutions is looking at nature. The way nature's developed cork, it's fireproof, it's antiseptic, it's an insulant, it's very good for sound reduction, and often we look for the answers in nature or nature under the microscope, because nature's probably the best inventor so far, before AI.
So it's a lot of like unlikely sources of inspiration, but it all cross-references, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the other thing is that how do you make, everyone's got a perception of cork, So how do you, add value to cork creatively? And that's what we've tried to do with these stools, with scaling the scale of it. So everyone doesn't think it looks like a sort of 1970s bathroom floor. And it's taking almost, one of the things I love is taking very mundane material and almost creating neo finishes with them by transforming them into a different finish. But the material itself is sustainable, it's recyclable, and creating something that's really beautiful from a very basic raw material, really.
We go to sustainability shows. We're part of something called We Are Prime, which is a sustainability group with lots of other companies in this industry part of that, and we share data and information on what we're doing sustainability wise.
Yeah, well, it's good because I think like the yachting industry obviously doesn't have like the best reputation or track record on that front, so it's great to hear that you as like suppliers to that industry are doing your bit to make sure that the part that you're doing is like, you're pushing.
And it's only a small part, but it's a part of it.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, like, wealthy people are gonna want to keep traveling and etc. Yeah. So it's that kind of pragmatic approach of like, well, that's gonna keep happening. So how can we at least make it, as
a little bit better.
Yeah. I think what would be really nice actually to finish and sort of round things up is if maybe you can talk to me about the samples that you've been working on this year. What stage are you at? Because you said you started 10 months ago. What stage are you at now, would you say, with your samples?
We've been very good this year. We're into production for some of them. All of them have left design, so they've been fully designed. All the designs are resolved. 95% of the R&D is done. And now it's just a case of making them. Yeah, there'll be a few hiccups along the way, but most of the things we think are resolved. So straw.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that came from one of our innovation days, probably about 6 years ago. Kevin, who works in the leisure shop, was just messing around really with straw and resin, and made a little piece of this. And Mark absolutely loved it. So it's the end grain that you can sort of see through, can't you? Yeah. He sends the light through it. So traditionally, straw is
when the light
is a traditional marquetry technique. So you get the straw and you split it and you lay it down flat and you stick it down like veneer, like marquetry.
Yes.
But this is using the straw as a whole piece, as a whole tube.
Yeah.
And then casting it in resin and letting that light come through.
And then you're actually staining the straw has different colours to it, right?
All different colours, yeah. And we're developing that staining process at the moment to try and refine it, to try and get it better. There's a lot of R&D in terms of the straw has got a natural sort of silica wax on the surface, so things don't really like to stick to it, like finishes and resins and stuff. Well, last year it was in one of the Monaco samples a little bit last year in a very small amount, and then this year we've really
the development's
really sort of kicked on, and we're able to produce these bigger, larger, thicker.
It really has a lot of like movement to it. It's quite.
Yeah, so this is going to be a piece for a Monaco sample this year, and then we've got the same technique in the limited edition. It's going to be some tables.
Yeah.
Which I won't say too much about, but they're going to be very, very exciting.
We want to whet people's appetite, but we don't want to reveal everything.
Well, no, we don't want to.
What about this?
And yeah, so gun checkering. The designers here will always look at stuff for inspiration. Nature's a big one, but traditional woodworking stuff is quite popular. So this is looking at traditional gun stock checkering. We've done some work with Holland and some gun makers in the past, but this is our own sort of development of that checkering technique, which is a hand-done technique, but we've developed it to be done on the CNC. Because then with the machine we can really do it on a large scale. There's more control in the sort of design and the depth of things and the different cutters you can use to get different angles.
Is it similar technique?
Similar technique, yeah.
Has a really beautiful texture to it.
Yeah, and things like this, we've done textures like this before, and they just, once they're finished and they're lit well, they catch the light, they photograph amazing. So this is going to look spectacular in a photo, yeah. And we can get it to fade off on over the edges on the 5-axis, which will be very, I mean, doable by hand.
Yeah.
But it's just so much more scalable and so much more potential there with the machine.
What about these?
And then, yeah, anodizing titanium. A lot of what we do with metal finishes is plating and lacquering, patination and things like that. But this is a technique which one of the designers, I think, had seen it on a bike frame. So it's titanium that's been anodized with voltage and an electrolyte solution that you put on it, and you just paint it on and it goes different colours.
What about this?
And stacked leather and timber.
Yeah.
Stacked leather, again, is something I think it came from one of the innovation days, and that's been spec'd on actual jobs.
Nice. That
which
must
is
be
great.
so nice.
That's the real thing, is when you do an innovation day, somebody makes something, it goes to design, they like it, they get it in a design, a client sees it, and they spec it, they want it on a job, and it becomes a job, and it's paid, and it's out the door.
That must be really validating,
one of the designers came up with a technique which we now use a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, the pattern's always different, but the process is still the same, and there's a few different versions of it, what we can do in terms of depth and width and colours and things. But
yeah, I'm guessing it's probably been like a few years now, so you've probably tested on it loads. And
it's been on so many projects that he's very proud of that one.
Yeah, as he should be. That's great. Well, I'm guessing that when you guys do go to Monaco in September, that you'll probably share these in their finished form on social media or something, right?
They will be, yeah. So before the show, we'll start to trickle it out from sort of July probably.
Yeah.
This year we might do some sort of on-location shots. The designers, they always do concepts of the samples of what they could become. Yeah. Which sort of helps, because a lot of people ask, what are they? Well, they're just conversation starters, really. So they can be anything you want. It's just
and it doesn't have to be, if you come out with this finish and it's got a particular leaf on it, it's like, well, it could be a different wood, it could be a different scale of the pattern, it could be a different leaf. And, if you show it on a table, it doesn't have to be the table, it could be a coffee table, it could be a chair, or it could be like a frame, or, it's, as you say, it's a conversation starter, and then your imagination leads you to where you want it to be.
Possibilities are, endless to the point of being overwhelming to an extent, I think.
What's your advice for anyone who, I don't know, say they're a craftsperson working on their own, or say maybe they've got, they've started out, they've got a few employees, but they're wanting to scale up. What's your advice for them? You're not allowed to say don't do it.
No, I think my first advice is I'd go and work for someone else and see how it's done, rather than go straight into your own business. Yeah. Obviously, if you've got money for a rainy day, because it sometimes doesn't go smooth, I've always been a believer of that. But work hard, treat people fairly. But I think it's just make sure you've got a market that because obviously as soon as you take people on, you've got overhead and you sustain that. So is your income stream, fluid? Is it going to grow? Is it going to retract? Look at that to ensure that that overhead you've taken on, you can sustain sales to meet that. Because often people start off as creative people, they'd be successful creatively, and then they find they're just running a business, which in a way is something I've done, is that, and the original thing they set out to do then gets left behind because they just become a salespeople to keep all the people they're employing in jobs. Fortunately, we've got a sales team, there's only 3 of us, but the risk is spread. I think the most important thing is also to enjoy the journey. If you can have fun along the way, as well as achieving what you set out to do, that's really important. I know a lot of people who are very, very successful, but they're very unhappy people because they haven't done anything meaningful. And I think we're all very lucky here. We're doing something that's meaningful. We can go home. A bad day for us is not really a bad day.
Yeah.
It's just things are taking longer than we thought.
Yeah, which I've seen what that can be like. It can be
Yeah.
frustrating, but as you say, you're still coming in,
Yeah.
doing something that you love, and you know that there will be a solution. It's
Correct.
just about finding
Yeah.
it. Well, fantastic.
Good.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for visiting us. Thank you for being part of Silverlining today.
I've linked Silverlining's website below, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the finished samples for this year's boat show. So if you can't make it to Monaco, look at their website or their Instagram to see the finished pieces. Thank you so much for watching. It means a lot, especially as at the moment this channel is entirely self-funded. So please spread the word. Like, share and subscribe. See you next week. I can't tell people to go to the Monaco boat show. Trying to think what else I can say.